Welcome, everyone. Today we have with us Dr. Kamellia Dimitrova MD. She is a pioneer in bioenergetics, wellness, cardiothoracic surgery, and the founder of Quantum Heart Incorporated. In her esteemed capacity as an attending cardiothoracic surgeon at preeminent institutions like Beth Israel Medical Center in New York and St. Vincent's Hospital in Manhattan, coupled with hundreds of articles, chapters, and presentations, Dr. Kamellia Dimitrova has cemented her reputation as a profoundly skilled medical visionary. Yet, her true passion has always been the fundamental nature of energy as the essence of health and life. This passion, both as a compassionate human being and as a medical doctor to countless individuals, ignited her quest to bridge the gap between intricate laboratory research and tangible daily living. And we're going to talk about her amazing product that she developed, as well as her fertility journey and her perspective on wellness and, achieving that to get pregnant and just in general life. Welcome, Dr. Kamellia Dimitrova.
Good morning, Christina. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. And I had the honor to know Christina for a few years now. And thanks to her, I have my second child right there. Her daughter and my daughter, funnily enough, were born on exactly the same day, 2 hours apart. And I always say that. I'm so proud of it.
I know,
We
I love
synchronize each other.
Yes, indeed. No, we're connected in the stars.
That's right.
Well, and yes, we did meet at a fertility center years ago, and we're gonna talk about all of that. But first, doctor, will you tell us more about your background? Because it's just amazing, all of your accomplishments, and we'll get the sort of lay of the land of your beginnings and how it evolved to where you are now.
Well, I was born in Bulgaria, but I definitely describe myself as a New Yorker. I have that high achieving end of everything. I wanted everything exactly what I wanted. So my career in cardiac surgery has been, developed over the past 15 years. And 2012 was my corporate year, the year of a struggle when turned my life and my vision of what I want to do with my life upside down. My father and my closest friend was diagnosed with lung cancer, which happened to be very much advanced, and he lived only 9 months after the diagnosis. I myself was pregnant and diagnosed with Hashimoto and was going through the horrible hypothyroidism, low energy days and months and years. And although my endocrinologist was one of the best and my blood tests start coming back positive and I had a normal child, still my energy never went back to normal. And that's when I start questioning, is everything I'm practicing actually true? Because I'm experiencing myself. I saw my dad that there's something else. There's not only the surgery or the pill, there's something else that the blood tests are not catching, and it's reflecting the very actual way I feel. So that's when I turn and start looking and talking and trying to see what's behind the scenes. And then shortly after that, I was trying to have a second child, and I started hitting the walls. And I'm sure, the hypothyroidism and the low energy and, just the busy life of a surgeon and a mother, and the New York City itself, all the social life and everything going on, was taking a toll on me. So I had a few miscarriages, which also took a big emotional and physical toll on my life at the moment at the time. And I decided and I knew it's because, at my age, my mitochondria in my ovaries are not good enough. So the eggs I'm making are not good enough, and they cannot finish the love meiosis, and they have defects, and it's a genetic defect, and that's why I keep going to these miscarriages, although I was getting pregnant just fine. So that's how I ended up in one of the fertility centers, very well known here in Manhattan. I trusted my doctor, the fertility physician, a lot, and he would swear by Christina. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So I went, and there it is, like beautiful, smart, intelligent, such a engaging and a full of energy person, talking scientifically and explaining everything, going like clinical study by clinical study, done in Europe, done in America, down in Asia. Oh, her background was so impressive. That was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I started myself doing a very deep, profound research on everything she said. And sure enough, it was true. And I started talking to the hospitals where I was working. How can we implement actually acupuncture, like in treating pain and like anxiety and all these things? So now, believe it or not, almost 10 years later, a lot of hospitals have acupuncturists that work almost full time. The insurance companies, take acupuncture as a absolutely legit way of treatment of various arrays of disorders. Anyway, that's how I met Christina, and then of course I schedule acupuncture with her. And I loved every second of it, just the way she engaged with me, how she looked at parts of my life that I even haven't looked at, and made me think about how I'm going and why I'm doing things, and how very gently, how maybe I can redirect certain things so I can get the best result, having fertility in focus. So believe it or not, one acupuncture and I made my egg, which is my daughter. So ever since then, my entire family has been treated by her. My husband, my mom, my brother, my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, and I'm a big fan.
Well,
And
I feel the same way about you, and I love your family. And truthfully, when Dr. Dimitrova came to me, she was already so knowledgeable, eating a very clean diet. She knew the physiology of everything. She knew what needed to be treated, and it was just a matter of using some of the tools of natural medicine and lifestyle to optimize, like she says, the mitochondria, which we're going to talk more about with her incredible product. Let's segue there. Where, like, you were developing this product, I believe, even while you were going through the fertility journey, making your second baby. Tell us a bit about what inspired, first of all, actually tell us about the product. What is it?
So the product I named it Vital Sight.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to put under the same umbrella all the vital signs. Because when you want to check your health, you check your vital signs. And the vital signs in the mainstream medicine are the heart rate, the blood pressure, then you do blood tests and you do it every year to make sure everything like is in a certain normal range. In the medicine that Christina practiced, they have a different approach that actually I'm well acquainted with, because in my medical school back in Bulgaria, we study also signs of health, vital signs of health. You look at the tongue, you touch the pulse, you look at the skin, you look at the eyes. So that's why it's vital sight, because instead of looking at like 10,000 things, I have one thing that you look at, and it's the sight of how the body is working. And the body, I'm looking at the body as a machine, and you're the architect of the body, and you want this to be tuned and optimized all the time. And energy is everything you need for anything to work. Energy is the fundamental of life. So fertility is very tightly related to energy. And one of my biggest epiphany actually happens when I realize about my mitochondria.
Let's go back to a little bit of basic biology, because you mentioned the mitochondria, which is very important in fertility, and it's actually what a lot of products like supplements and therapies are geared to improving. So tell us why the mitochondria are important for fertility and egg quality.
So it's important for absolutely everything, but it happened that the nature has put so much, the most, into our way to reproduce. So that's the process that takes the most energy in the body. So I have something prepared that I'm going to share screen, and it's going to be easier to like visualize what mitochondria is, what energy is, and what exactly I'm looking at.
And yes, for all of our listeners, we're going to have the video presentation of this and the function of the cells and measuring them and everything. We're going to have this on our YouTube, the Naturna Institute YouTube.
So the energy in the human body and how we measure health, the routine checkups, the blood tests, the x-ray, the imaging scans. So personally, for me or my dad, none of this worked. Everything was like too late. And whoever has to deal with disorder knows you get to a point where you have to depend on pharmaceuticals, pills, or regular visits to the physician. And the question comes, what is before that? What can I do? How can I keep health without focusing on disease? And there is one that rules them all, which is the energy flow. And elevated energy is not only health, vibrant health, but also elevated living, which means you can get more, you can achieve more. There's nothing impossible. And I know that everybody has had these days when you wake up, it's like, oh my gosh, I can do anything today. And I bet if I measure you, then your energy is going to be peak and your body is going to be full. And the good news is that you can train yourself. You can do that. You can do things every day, strategize your day, your life, so you can be full every day and you can feel that all the time. So what we call metabolism is a process of converting food and oxygen into quants of energy. And they're locked in a molecule. This is the last time I'm going to use the word molecule, ATP. This is the most important molecule on Earth, and everything comes down to that. So food, oxygen, microcirculation, the vasomotion, the heart rate, the breathing rate, the movement, the sleep, and the autonomous nervous system, very important, which is the background to the nervous system. We don't register what happens to the autonomous nervous system, but this is the regulator. This is the composer of how your body is going to use the resources, how the metabolism is going to work. And then the product of this is the energy. And when you have the energy, the output are the mental clarity, and you have a behavior control. You're motivated, you can make choices. You don't just reach for the cookie, you think before you do that, and you decide not to do it. And then the movement efficiency, which leads to conservation of energy. Very, very important concept, because the well-known mainstream understanding of energy is energy expenditure. And most people think, oh, high metabolic rates is good for me and good health. No, high metabolic rates happens only when you're sick. That's when the temperature is higher. That's when you dissipate a lot of energy in the terms of temperature, and that brings the battery on the very low levels, so you don't function optimally, and this can lead to chronic conditions and diseases. What I'm looking at, and that's what I have developed as a cardiac surgeon and in the last 15 years, that can bring this deeply cellular molecular process into a graph or into the representing the daily life. I call it from the lab straight to your body, and it's called heart rate variability, which measures directly the parasympathetic autonomous nervous system. And Christina will tell me that this is actually the N in the Chinese traditional medicine, and the sympathetic autonomous nervous system, which highly correlates, is not exactly the same, but highly correlates with the yang. And I'm promising you, this is not a magic pill, but it works. It works, and that's why the magic is. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes understanding, and takes the discipline, and takes work. But at the end, it works. And
yeah, when you originally told me about this product, I was so excited because, I believe a lot of health comes from growing our awareness about how things are affecting us. And, if you're having trouble tuning in, on a deep level, something like this can be very informative. And I think that in our culture, we like data. And this is literally the data. It's like, oh, I consumed this, or I was exposed to this, or even I met with this person and my energy went down. And you can see.
Yeah.
And that's just incredible.
Exactly. And our brains are wired in such a way that you're not going to see the things you do not expect. You'll miss it. But when it's shown to you, like when I met you for the first time and you told me things that I didn't know, so I never pay attention to them. And then I was like, okay, she's right. I started looking at details and like, how do I move? What I do? How I spend my day? What part of the day is in recovery? What part of the day is in stress? And all these things. So absolutely.
And then it's like, and some of you listening might be like, oh, well, that's, very general and that takes work and da da da. But like, if we relate it back to exactly where we started, which was your egg, say you have an egg quality issue, or say you're having failed implantation because, the cells of your uterus aren't performing well because the mitochondria are weaker, because we're dealing with age, because we're dealing with toxins, because we're dealing with poor lifestyle choices, right?
Exactly.
And we're looking to improve egg quality. Finding out the things that are draining your energy are going to be the things that you can start changing to improve the energy in your cells and make your eggs function better. Like when I have somebody come to tell me and they're like, oh, I did IVF and none of my eggs fertilized, or I had some eggs fertilized and none of them made it to blastocysts, or, that's diagnostic to me. I'm like, okay, well, they're lacking the energy. So again, we just have to keep relating it back to this, that if you identify the energy drains in your life, and the things that maybe are giving you better energy, then you know where to direct your lifestyle to get more out of this fertility process and get to your destination faster.
Absolutely. And it's like sounds very vague, but I have done it and many of my clients have done it. And just little things, tiny little things, move for example, your bedtime with 30 minutes earlier so you can synchronize your biological rhythms, your circadian rhythms with your body. Like instead of like watching extra 30 minutes TV or have like screen time, just eliminate that. You're gonna miss it for 2 days, I promise you. Then you're gonna feel so good that you're like, why did I ever do that? So tiny little things. Move your dinner time with 1 hour earlier. Focus on what you eat because food has energy. And a lot of people identify food with energy. It's not the same. Certain foods have a lot of energy and they require very little from you to digest and be converted to fuel. And majority of the food we eat are packed with toxins and they overload the system. It takes more energy for you to digest and convert them to usable for the body energy. So, and if you pay attention to that, you'll know there's a huge difference if you eat a salad with quinoa, or broccoli or some vegetables versus a sandwich. Huge
Mm.
difference.
Yeah, and also, not for nothing, if you overeating is one of the biggest drains of your energy
Right.
possible.
And snacking, the other thing that like I see that in many clients, including myself, which I was a huge snacker. Uh, if you time your food again with this hormonal spikes of certain hormones and autonomous nervous system, you can synchronize yourself with what's happening in the body so you can get the best of it. And after 35, I'm very convinced that you don't need more than 2 meals. And this is just enough for the body to sustain itself, and then you're most vibrant.
Yeah. I notice the less I eat, the more time between meals, I feel much more energetic for sure. It's a huge difference. Yeah. And
It
I
requires a
think,
lot for the body to digest, to release the hormones and all that.
yeah, definitely.
And so this is like the crucial point of the energy and what I'm looking at when I'm studying somebody's life is you use oxygen and glucose, and you have two products: CO2 and water. The CO2 you exhale, and the water you pee out, and that is the energy. When there's not enough oxygen, which happens when the sympathetic nervous system is activated for a prolonged period of time. For example, you're stressed for more than a couple hours, there is no blood, there's no oxygen going to any tissue, and the tissue goes to something that's called anaerobic respiration, which doesn't need oxygen. And look at these metabolites. It's like more than 32 byproducts, and they just stay in your cell. They're nowhere to go. They just accumulate. It's trash, garbage that just stays there. And this is the beginning of disease, of cancer. The cells go in a hibernating state where they're not producing energy, because look at us. When you don't use oxygen, you have only 2 ATPs. When you use oxygen, you make 38 ATPs. So the cell barely survives. Many of the cells die. And that's how Alzheimer, hypertension, coronary artery disease, all the cancer, that's how they start. the engine of the body that pumps the oxygen and the glucose and all the fuel, all the nutrients that go to every cell, are connected to the health of the lung and the heart. And this is the engine. The better the engine, the better health you are in. And the sympathetic and the parasympathetic closely related to your responses that are completely involuntary. You can develop interoception and you can register those, and then you can regulate your responses, but it takes a lot of time. The beginning is just to know that they exist. So the sympathetic is fight or flight. That's when everything gets constricted and you are running for your life. And the parasympathetic is digest and relax, and this is associated with reproduction and digestion and generating of energy. Both of them are absolutely a vital part of the balance and how the body works.
Yeah, and in this day and age, we're existing much too much in the sympathetic, where it's go, go, go and overstimulation. And so then, the vessels are constricted, not leaving resources like oxygen for our cells. Is that right, doctor?
That's right. And like how the sympathetic is associated with yang, which is the masculine energy. Funnily enough, men are the one that much more prone to develop hypertension, which is associated with hyperactive, unopposed sympathetic activation. And this is, when you're scared, your eyes, your pupils are huge. You stop, your mouth is dry. That's why when you have anxiety or panic attack, everything looks, and if you feels dry, your heart is palpitating and like you feel like it's going to come out of your chest. And then the parasympathetic is exactly the opposite.
And so I think for our listeners, it's important for you to know that Dr. Dimitrova actually analyzes the data herself and then informs you of that feedback. So, doctor, how, like, if somebody was to buy this product, to get in touch with the way that the energy is performing in their system, in relation to their lifestyle, to be able to grow this awareness and make those changes, what does it look like, from when they purchase the product? Like, how is the interaction with you? How long do they wear it? Like, how does it work?
So this is the product is made in Finland. It's a device that you attach to your chest, the right and the left, and you wear it anywhere between 24 hours to 72 hours. 72 hours is very preferable because you can see for yourself the rhythm of your life. And everybody thinks every day is different. Surprisingly enough, you can see how the little pie portions of what you do every day is almost the same. And that's the culprit. That's why the biofeedback happens. You register, you connect the dots. I do this and this happened, and I do that and that happened. So you wear this and you keep a very detailed log of what you do, because we tend to forget. It's good to, on your phone. Just, I woke up at 7 and I felt good or bad, energized or not energized. I had breakfast at 10. I went to work. I had like whatever meetings and I felt this and that. I exercised. And just keep the log for yourself, because I can see what you did, but the very important is for you to know what you did. And then I create graphs like this one that shows you what you did every day, every minute of the day, because it's the analysis for every second of the day. So this, you look at this, is like, okay, because I swear, even you and I do everything the same. Oh. No, it's not the same. You think that, but then you have to develop it's called, in neuroscience, it's called interoception or mitoconception. Like, you have to understand the responses of your body and then you catch it. And that's the only way you can change. Because if you don't understand what other people is telling you, like, you're not going to do it. You put yourself through like horrific diets and horrific exercise regimes. And then, as soon as you stop, you're back to whatever you were. So
and I have patients that are like, they have an IVF cycle coming up. They're sleeping 5 hours a night because they're working and whatever. And I'm like, you have to sleep more. You have to sleep more. You can't have this output, this sympathetic mode all the time, and then expect to have eggs develop normally and well, right?
It's not gonna happen. Yeah.
No, and so this is because, but I love what you've developed here, because it's one thing for me to say it. It's a lot better to actually see what it does. And so these graphs are super helpful. I suggest that everybody's listening, watch the YouTube so that you can see, the full lesson. And so Dr. Dimitrova, this is so amazing. And I think we should have you back to talk more about it. But in the meantime, if our listeners are interested in going forward in doing this with you and growing this awareness, and all this information is going to be in the show notes, by the way, for everybody listening, where do they find you, and how do they get started?
So I have my website is where you can book appointment with me, and we can email me, you can talk, I can tell you more. And my website is www.quantumheartinc.com, which is QUANTUM heart HERTINC.com. And I'm on Instagram as well under the same name, Quantum Heart INC. And I love to talk to you.
So Dr. Dimitrova is like the loveliest person and incredibly informative and generous with her time and expertise. And she has been through this journey herself. Like she developed this product, she used it on herself, her family, she has a lot of clients, but for our listeners here, she went through her own fertility journey, and she watched the difference that making these changes and harnessing the energy in her body made, to get her this embryo that turned into her daughter. So
Yes.
thank you so much for being here
So
with
thank
us.
you.
Amazing discussion, and I can't wait for this to be shared with our audience and everybody at large, because it just has so much to offer.